What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Extra Innings podcast. I'm your host, Elijah Rodriguez. So I said we are going to be doing this multiple days, so it wouldn't just be a one episode a week type deal. There's so much happening right now in baseball that I could find infinite amount of things to talk about. So, like I said, we're going to be rolling these out daily, every other day, something like that. But one of the main topics that I did want to talk about today, and it's something that I actually made a short short Instagram video about a couple days ago, is about this whole epidemic. Sounds dramatic, but it's really not. Epidemic of pitcher injuries in the MLB minor leagues, pretty much all around baseball. And it's as an ex-pitcher, as a pitcher who has actually injured himself and didn't get the Tommy John surgery like he probably should have, probably still need to. It's alarming. It really is, guys. It's alarming. The amount of guys that are going down. And we're not talking just like, oh, here and there's a lot of guys, because there are a lot of people, a lot of players in MLB in general, a lot of guys going through farm systems. It's like, oh, it could be, no, this is serious, guys. We're talking like some big arms are down. Like I've said it, a million times. You got Garrett Cole's down. You got Sandy Alcantara's down. You got Spencer Strider's down. Framber Valdez is down. Another guy just went down yesterday for the Orioles. I mean, it's all over baseball. It's all over baseball, and I think, and I know that there's a lot of people that are going to blame it on this, the pitch clock and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I don't feel that the pitch clock is the culprit. It just doesn't make sense. And you can look at, and I know everybody's going to say, well, the MLB is going to, doctor all that information and tell you that it's not that the pitch clock, because they implemented it. They actually reduced it 2 seconds from last year. Guys, it's not the pitch clock. It's not the pitch clock. I don't care what anybody says. And then everyone is freaking out that they reduced it. Guys, there was I did a deep dive. I always try to fact check as much as I can before I say anything, because I don't want to look like an idiot. But there was no pitchers that actually made it to the full time of the pitch clock. So why wouldn't you reduce it? It makes no sense. But so that's one thing. I think the pitch clock, and I kind of want to go through it all before I start getting ahead of myself. But I'm just going to say it now. So if you disagree with me, you can hop out, because it's not the pitch clock. And I'm going to tell you that forever. It's just not. What I do think it is, God, I need that coffee this morning. What I do think it is like I said in the video, the main culprit, I think, is the obsession with throwing fucking hard. That's the thing, because it's I was listening to a thing with John Scholes. John Smoltz. He's talking to Ben Verlander about it, and this is the next guy, ex Hall of Fame, pitcher. So I think he would know a little bit about what he's talking about. But he's saying it's the reward system that we've put into place, where if you want to make it, you got to throw hard. And I don't think he missed. I really don't. And to be 100% honest, like I've pulled, a slider and a curveball are the two pitches that I think do the most damage to your UCL, to your elbow, to your forearm, just because of how much it's, you spin it and how hard you're throwing it. Because now, and we'll get into this a little bit later, I kind of wanted to start off, kind of give this as the precursor here, is the average four-seam fastball in the MLB and the average slider. And it's not as alarming as I thought it was going to be. It's the slider one is a little concerning. So if you go back to 2008, the average MLB fastball is 91.9, with the average slider being 83.4. Go to 2009, it's 92.1 on the fastball, 83.5. I could go through this. You're talking like 30 years. Now we'll hop to, so 91.9 in 2008. 10 years later, it's 93.2. So steady climb with the slider up to 84.5. Then we'll go to 2021, 93.7 in 2021 on the fastball, 84.8 on the slider. So we're almost up to 85 miles an hour on an average MLB slider. That's a lot of torque. That's a lot of spin. 2022, we got a 93.9 average Major League fastball with an 85 mile an hour average MLB slider. Fastball is 93.9. I don't know if I got those two confused. And then in 2023, last year, the average, it climbed to 94.2. That's the average MLB fastball is 94.2, with the average MLB slider at 85.2. So that's pretty alarming, guys. It's raised almost three miles an hour since 2008. Now, people are going to say, "Oh, it's not that, that's not that much. It's only 94. Like that should be average." Well, that's the average, right? So there's still going to be more guys when the average is climbing 2% over 10 years. That means that there's more and more guys throwing way fucking harder than that. So 94.2 is not even a true tell. I think that's like, it's the median. Yeah, there's still a lot of guys that are throwing in the low 90s, but there are so many more 94 plus. And I think that's and I have to agree with John Smoltz on this. Like, it's the reward system. And let me explain that. So, okay, let me go back. Actually, we'll go back to my experience here. Like, so in 2015 and 2014, I went to college at high school. And this all has relevance, I promise. Oh God, excuse me. So in 2014, 2015, I went to college to play. I was a catcher, then I converted to a pitcher, right? So in 2015, I had my first real taste of like true baseball, because when I was at Incarnate Word, I was a catcher number one. We didn't have the best talent. It was a first year Division I, so we didn't have like real. That's gonna sound like a dick move. We didn't have real D1 guys yet, because it wasn't an established D1 program. So they were still recruiting most D2 guys, some D1 guys here and there, JUCO transfers, but we weren't like a true Southland Conference team where it's like, yeah, this is a D1 team. It's like we're kind of a mixed match group. So I didn't see a whole lot of talent that I was like, wow, right? Fast forward to 2015, I go to junior college, go play at Angelina Junior College. So, it's a Division I junior college in Lufkin, Texas. We're playing, Navarro's in our conference, Bossier Parish is in our conference, Northeast Texas is in our conference, Wharton Junior College in the conference. But then we also go down and we'll play, like San Jack or Cisco or Weatherford. So we play the teams that that you've known, heard, or they can ball, and that was my first, taste of like seeing guys truly like throw really hard, like major league stuff. And some of those guys we played against are now in the big leagues or have had big league careers or are done, but have played at the high level. So it's like, I saw it, I understood it firsthand. And it is, I don't know how to say it. It's so fun to watch it that you wish you could do it, right? So I came out, there's guys throwing 95, 96, 97, some guys throwing 99. I mean, they're throwing fucking really hard. Jackson Rutledge came out of there a couple years ago. So you can imagine those guys throwing 98 plus. And that was, because I'm a 5'10" Mexican dude. At the time, I was really overweight. I was nowhere near the shape that I'm in now. I'm in way better shape, which is sad. You think a college athlete would be in better shape than I would be now at 28. But, I remember watching them and saying, I'm only throwing 85, 86. I'm a righty, I got to throw harder. And this was like 2014, 2015 was like the evolution of like spin rate. And we're learning about all this stuff. Like Hit Tracks was probably on its peak, on its rise up. It wasn't even that big a deal. Rapsodos weren't even really that big a deal, but they were on the way up. Places like Top Velocity, Driveline, these were all in their early stages. But this is where I think where it really began was around that time period. And I'm over here on social media looking at all this stuff. How am I going to throw harder? How am I going to throw harder? And it's like, obviously as a junior college guy, the goal is to, I want to go play Division I. I want to go play pro ball, XYZ. Way out of the question, probably. Yeah. Looking back at it, I'm like, I don't know if maybe I'd done some of these things and done it differently. Maybe, I don't know. But looking back at it, it was probably a long shot, but hey, that's a goal I had at the time. It was very much attainable in my eyes at the time. So I was going to try. I was like, hey, we're going to throw hard. We're going to start working out way harder. We're going to push our body harder. So that summer coming back after my first year of junior college, I spent the whole summer it was basically like a velo training. It was just like, we're going to work out really, really hard, and we're going to throw harder. And the results were there. Before, I didn't touch any weighted balls back then. I have something about weighted balls because those are now really popular. Every school has a plyo ball wall, and they have sections. And I'm not the huge fan, but we'll get to that in a second because I think that also plays a role. But I did this solely lifting weights, solely working out, solely doing aerobics, all this other shit to throw harder, and I did. I got up to like 91, 92, and I gained that over the course of a summer. But here's and here's what I say, guys. So I went on the velo program. I got it. I worked harder. The weight room became like I was lifting like a monster so I could do this. So I could hit that 90-mile-an-hour fastball because that was like at the time the threshold. There were shirts, people had stuff 90-mile-an-hour club. 90 was like it. The 90, if you could throw 90, you had a fucking chance. Now you throw 90 and you get spit on. It's like, so what? You throw 90. So does everybody else in America can throw 90 because that's true. I mean, so many more high school kids are throwing 90. It's so effortless now. I mean, it used to be 90 was like 100 back then, right? Anyway, so I throw 90, and I remember it was a slow process, but goes back to the reward system. So my fall, I'm throwing 90 to 92. I think I topped 93. Way harder. I had less success, which was more funny, was I had less success throwing harder than I did when I was throwing 85 to 87. Ball got flat. I don't know. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that because it was just a rough year, rough season. But I was throwing a lot harder. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm throwing 90. I got to make it because I worked this hard to throw this hard, but it literally didn't last. Three, the fall was fine. I did really well in the fall, so the reward system played into it. It's like, yeah, you did really well. You were the number one starter going into that season because you threw so hard. You had a great fall, but then like the arm started to deteriorate. It didn't. It just my arm was not built to throw that hard for a sustained amount of time. Like I went out there, and by the third, fourth inning, I was gassed. I was exhausted because I've given you 100 mile an hour, 100% on every pitch. And I'm a starter, so it makes no fucking sense. Like I was gassed by the fourth inning. Balls were rising, but my velo dropped like 3 miles an hour. Like I was like 87, but everything was elevated because I'm still trying to give you everything on every pitch. I'm throwing sliders as hard as I can. I'm throwing my curveball as hard as I can. I'm pronating my changeup as hard as I can to get that velo and that spin, that punch on every pitch. Well, I remember we went to Alvin. We were at Alvin Junior College, and this is where it all began. Like this is where the issues began. And we're maybe in March, and junior college we start in January, so we're a couple months in. I'm already having it rough because I can't sustain 4 fucking innings because I'm gassed. So I'm going into the start. My arm's already not feeling good. My elbow's not good. I remember I snapped off a curveball. Yeah, I felt the pop. Like it did not feel good. I spiked it 20 feet before the home plate. It was not good. I don't think I tore my UCL because I remember when I tore my UCL. But that day was like the first, like there's a strain. I strained it because I felt it. It felt horrible. It was a numbness in my finger, the whole thing. But I know it wasn't ripped in because of I could keep throwing, right? But later a year later, it didn't work that way. So I remember I ended up pitching that game. Stupid fucking decision. I should have said something, but it's the same concept. If I'm hurt, and this is my last year of junior college, if I'm fucking hurt, how am I going to show to scouts that I can play somewhere next year? If I'm hurt, don't say anything. You're not going to say anything. We're going to suck it up. End up going out there and shitting all over myself because I couldn't throw anything. My arm was on fire. So I ended up like taking a couple weeks off. I think I had like a couple relief appearances after that, working out of the bullpen just to kind of let my arm rest and recover. But I don't think I was ever the same. So then, I take that summer off. I didn't throw very much, kind of here and there. And then took the fall off. So I think I actually inadvertently, because I didn't go anywhere that fall, I went to St. Mary's the next spring. So I took that fall off after that junior college season. So I think inadvertently I gave myself the time off to heal a little bit, then came back. And then I'm not shitting on St. Mary's because this is all I could really do. They wanted me to bullpen every 3 days during the season to keep my arm fresh, almost like simulating like an in-season, like you're a reliever, because I couldn't play because we had some shit going on with the school I had signed to. It was a mess. So I was ineligible, but they still wanted me on the team. So I was playing. I was doing bullpens at least 2 to 3 times a week. I think that didn't do me very good because then I'm also like, I'm going to the same thing. I want to throw really hard again. I feel like I'm not there. Let's run it back. Let's do it all over again. So I did it all over again. That was a terrible idea because that summer of 2017, boom. And the summer I'm pitching, I'm back up to full. I'm ramped up. I'm throwing on my Saturday games that I'm pitching in summer in Houston. I'm throwing again. Low 90s, I'm back, I'm feeling good, and then boom. But this one wasn't. This one was the one. This one was like, hey, I can't. Like I snapped one off, and it just ran. I could feel my arm felt like a rubber band. It was bad. It was not good, and that was the end of my baseball career. To be honest, I mean that was it. I was like, I'm not having surgery to go play Division II, especially when it's going to come out of my pocket or my parents' pocket. And that was my run. But so that story, cautionary tale, whatever, that story plays into what's happening right now. It's just more advanced, right? So I was at the beginning stages. I couldn't afford, obviously, back then to go to a drive line, to go to top velocity. So I made my own plan and my own, I had a trainer, obviously, at the time. So we kind of created our own thing of what we could do to make me throw harder. So that's what we did. But the result is the same as it is right now. Arms are going to blow out. So let's get to the reward system thing I was talking about with John Smoltz said, every kid now, it's worse now, I think, because there's more talent. There's more people going to these showcases, and these big league clubs, these colleges, not so much. I don't think that I don't think they're promoting that you have to throw 100, because right now in college, and that's a whole other topic I'll get into another day. There's kind of somewhere for everybody to play. There's so many divisions. There's 1, 2, 3. There's NCAA. There's NJCA. There's junior colleges you can play at. There's club teams you can play on. There's Division III, which is, I mean, basically, sorry if it offends you, it's basically club team, because there's in some programs, because some programs are fucking good, but that's there's a place. What I'm trying to say is there's a place for everybody to play. If you want to play post high school, you can play somewhere. There's NAI, you can play somewhere. Believe me. So I don't think colleges are really the issue. I think it's the pro guys, and I think that's why there's so many more injuries at the pro level. Obviously, the numbers from college are probably going to be diluted or just not reported because of it's just college and no one's really going to give that much detail to it, unlike the MLB, right? But like the MLB, big league clubs are like, well, first it was 90. Oh, we need you to throw 90. Now it's like you either throw 95 or we're not even going to fucking even think about looking at you. And that's the problem. Now guys are like, I got to throw really, really hard so that I even get a shot. I get a chance to play pro ball. When back in the day, it wasn't actually like that. But now, with these clubs having such an emphasis on velocity and spin rate and all these insane metrics, it's not only causing players to have to do XYZ to make it and stay there, but it's hurting the game, in my opinion, because right now, and this is where it's going to kind of morph into a little bit more of the business side of things. It's like, okay, all you MLB clubs are now obsessed with hundreds. I need a guy to throw gas. That's how we're going to make it. That's how we're going to win a championship. We got to have a great pitching staff that can throw gas. Sure. But now you're worried about attendance. You're worried about all this stuff. And what irritates me more than anything is that player health, and it's the same thing that irritates me about the NFL. Player health is not being even, it's not even a priority at the moment. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. It's how much money we're bringing in, how hard are you throwing, how many championships, how many games are we winning. It's everything all but like the player, the health of the player, of the guy. It's like you're worried about attendance, yet you've got all these all-stars hurt. They're not playing anyway. Like, how many times I would go to a game on a specific day to watch a specific guy pitch? Like, I plan my when I decided, I go to a couple MLB games a year because I'm in San Antonio, so we don't have a team here for me to just go to. We've got, Dallas, you got Arlington, you got the Rangers up there, you got the Astros down in Houston. I've traveled to other places to go see games. But every time that I've made a decision to go watch a baseball game, excuse me, I'm always looking at the probables because I want to watch a good pitcher pitch. That's just me. It's not for everybody, but that's what I do. So if I'm a Braves fan and I'm like, I love Max Fried, but I would have really liked to watch Spencer Strider play. I'm just like, well, Spencer Strider's not playing, so I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. Why am I going to pay money for that? Or it's like, hey, I'm an Astros fan. I want to watch Framber Valdez pitch. Well, Framber's not pitching, so I might not go. It's just it's all encompassing. It's a whole thing, guys. So the attendance is going to hurt because you got all-stars hurt, and it's all but the player safety. They don't give a shit about the players. It's about all this other stuff. So anyway, so the reward system, I'll kind of hone it down. I know there's so many different avenues that I can talk about with this because it's all encompassing. It's a big problem, but Let's talk about the pitch clock. The pitch clock. Okay, so everyone's like the pitch clock is the problem. Pitch clock is not the problem. I think that it may have a 8 to 10% responsibility on the problem. Does it aid in the issue? No, it doesn't aid it. Does it make it worse? I don't think so. I don't see why it would make it worse, but it's also not doing it any favors. But the pitch clock is just, it's, people are complaining about that, but I personally love the pitch clock because I can go to a baseball game in 2 hours and it's pretty cool. I don't have to sit there for 5 hours when a pitcher's taking 6 hours to throw one pitch. But I think it's a great thing. I don't think that it's really doing that much damage. And I think people find a quick blame on it because it's easy. It's like, oh, the pitch clock is the main variable. That's what's causing pitchers to get hurt. No, it's not it. It's not it. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. But, so we'll overrule the pitch clock. Pitch clock's gone. We've talked about all the other stuff. Now we're going to get into, the other issue and where the problem really lies. And it's with management. I talked about it earlier. They don't really care about they're worried about attendance, worried about the money, but then guys are hurt. They don't care about player safety, all that, whatever. It's management, right? So everyone's like, well, how do we fix this problem? Is there ever going to be a problem? Is this going to be a problem that we can fix? What will the solution be? And here's the deal, guys. Right now, like I said, they're obsessed with gas. You need to throw hard. And that's trickling down to kids in high school, college. Like, if I want to get drafted, I got to throw really hard. The solution is going to have to be management, MLB changing their mindset, and they're going to have to shift their mindset on what's important for pitchers. Like, if you look back in the day, you got guys like Greg Maddux. You got some guys that were throwing like 88 to 90 with the occasional, like a Nolan Ryan, throwing, 100. But even then, look at his career. Look how long that lasted. How long that career lasted. Freak of nature, probably. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime spectacle to watch that man pitch. Different, yeah, but it doesn't. It's the same concept. It's like he wasn't looking at all these metrics. He was just being Nolan Ryan. They didn't have, Rapsodo. They didn't have hit tracks. They didn't have your spin rate, your vertical access, all that shit. They don't have any of that on your pitch design. He was just throwing, and I think that's the difference. I think that the more we analyze and the more we try to change these minuscule things, the more that it's going to make it worse. But I think the solution is going to come down to the MLB and to management changing their mindset and shifting it to, we need to get back to pitching. We need to change. We don't want, right now, I think, like, honestly, like, starters in the MLB right now are going like 5 to 6 innings. I feel like seeing, and maybe it's because, guys are guarding arms more. Maybe that's something that the managers are changing and they're shifting. But like 5 to 6 innings for a starter on average is like, it's okay. You used to see guys go 7-8. I mean, shit, 7-8 in the start is phenomenal. If you can make it 7-8 innings, that's almost 3-4 trips around the lineup. But like, I feel like a complete game shutout is such a rare feat now because pitchers, cannot last 9 innings. It's insane. They can't do it because guys are giving 100% every single pitch. You're not going to keep that up. And the other thing is, like, the shift's going to happen because you're going to start seeing guys that just their careers are going to implode after 2 years. They can't keep up that velocity for a long span, a long tenure in the league. You see more guys like Clayton Kershaw. He's a prime example. Zach Greinke was another one. Like Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw, Bartolo Colon was another one. Like, all these guys are pieces that you can tell have developed in the game, which I think is just going to show that Major League Baseball is going to have that same shift somewhere down the line. Clayton Kershaw used to throw high 90s. Now he's 88 to 90 with his fastball, and he had to change the way he pitched because that velocity doesn't last. Bartolo Colon, early in his career in the 90s, was in the 100 miles an hour. When he was towards the end of his career, obviously he's getting old, but even like when he was 35 to 40-ish, his fastball was another one, 90, 91. Zach Greinke is another guy who used to throw in the high 90s, career tails towards the end. He's pitching 88 to 91, and he can ramp it up to 93, 94 if he really needs it. It's still in the tank, but he doesn't use it. That's how the mindset is going to have to shift. But then not that. It's like, okay, well, maybe we don't want you to go have short burst innings. Okay, let's knock it down a couple gears. Let's knock it down a couple notches, and maybe we don't go 4 or 5 innings. Maybe we go 6, 7 innings, and maybe we kind of expand because you're not giving everything on every pitch. So it's like it's going to be a multitude of things. I think that the game's going to have to change the way it looks at velocity. I think that's the main culprit. It's us becoming obsessed with this way of pitching when in reality it's like, yeah, it's cool and all, but we're running through arms. I've seen, and it's sad because, and here's the thing, guys, and as a pitcher, I watched myself go through this. I've watched guys firsthand go through this who have arm problems, who have arm surgeries, and they don't come back the same. It's just they don't come back the same. Some guys do, and I mean, Tommy John, to the point now, Tommy John, just another sad feat, has become such a normal surgery, such a normal procedure for guys that it's like you have a 99% chance to come back the way you were before, but there's that chance that you might not. Shoulders are way more devastating. Shoulders have more issues when you come back because they don't fully rehabilitate, rather than like Tommy John where you're putting a whole new ligament pulling from your leg or your thigh or from your other wrist. So you're pulling a fresh ligament from somewhere else. I don't know if that's still they do. I know they used to do that. I've kind of fallen out of the science part of Tommy John, but the point is it's become such a normal procedure that doctors are like, oh yeah, I'm going to knock it out in an hour and you'll be fine. You'll be good in 8, 9 months, 10 months, 12 months, whatever, depending on your timeline, but it's like, why is it so normal for arm surgeries? And it's the same question. It's the same thing. We want so many guys to throw hard, and it's like, at this point, it's like, I remember this is just off the top. I remember guys when I was in college that were throwing weighted balls as hard as they fucking can to blow out their arms so that they could go in turn get Tommy John and have a fresh UCL so that it wasn't hurting and they could throw harder. I mean, this is all truth that you don't hear about. You don't see it. It's just, this is what's happening, man. And the other thing is, like, injury prevention is not going to be a thing because, with how, hostile MLB environments are. I'm not saying players are hostile towards each other. I'm just saying how cutthroat it is as a business. Is like guys are going to bust their fucking ass to make these debuts to be good. And then they're not going to tell you when they're feeling hurt. They're not going to tell you when, hey, my elbow's not feeling that great. Hey, my shoulder's kind of fucked up. They're not going to say anything because they're going to think if I go on the IL, if I go on the IR, I might not make it back. I might not come back. I might have surgery, not be the same guy. They might have 2 other guys that are ready to go out in the farm system, what have you. So they're not going to say shit. They're just going to keep throwing through it and hoping their arm doesn't pop and explode because, it's the big leagues. You want to be there for as much and as long as possible. So I get it. I see it. But yeah, guys, all in all, man, this is a short one. I just kind of wanted to talk about it. It's not the pitch clock. It's the way management. It's the way that we move our mindset with pitching. There's no secret that the average velo has increased by 3 miles an hour since 2008. Over 10 years ago, the average fastball, over 10 years ago, I might have had a career. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Probably not. But, spinning a curveball and throwing a fastball at 100 miles an hour, it's been proven. It's been proven to not be, it's not good for the longevity of your ligaments and your joints. Because like I said it in my video, throwing overhead from here is not a natural motion. So scientifically doing this, you're going to already do damage to your arm. You're going to do damage. It's just the science of it. You're going to do a lot of damage to your arm, which is why softball players can do this for 300 pitches a game and they're fine because that is the natural throwing motion, not overhand here, right? So you're already going to do damage. You're already going to do some shit to your arm that you didn't want to do. But yeah, mindset's going to have to change, guys. That's the biggest piece. That's the whole thing here. I think once we decide that, hey, we want some pitchers to last more than 2 years in the league, or we want more than 3 years out of a guy, especially with some of these contracts they're signing guys to, like Garrett Cole signed a long ass contract, big ass contract. What the fuck good is that if he's hurt or if he can't even throw because, he's trying to do all this other stuff. So, I think that once we change, our stance on velocity, once we change our stance on how we want to pitch, and maybe these velo labs stop getting so much attention, stop getting so much, because the other thing is, like, in the youth, I'm sure the youth is worse because you got guys that are going for a summer and they're, gassing themselves to throw hard and they go in and they hurt themselves. It's just, and I'm not saying it's anything on the facility because they do have a lot of great doctors there. They have a lot of great insight, a lot of great guys that are teaching some good stuff. But at the same time, it's been proven, scientifically proven that we cannot throw that hard, spin balls this fast with this much spin that hard for a long period of time. It's just not going to happen. So, we'll see less injuries. We'll see more longer careers from these guys when baseball decides that, hey, we want to see pitchers, not throwers. Not saying that there's only throwers in the MLB, because there are some really great pitchers that aren't just trying to gas at 100 miles an hour. There's some guys that are still good. They're tactful, that are, masterful, whatever you want to call it, that can hit, that can spot up, that can do this, that, or the other. But those guys won't get as much. Those guys are not going to get as much, spotlight as guys that are throwing 100 miles an hour. So, like the guy from Oakland right now, Miller, he's throwing gas. It makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. It's fun. He's electric. He's striking everybody out. He's owning it right now. But it makes me really, really nervous watching him pitch, because I'm like, truly, you're a big man. You've got a lot of arm action. It makes me think how long, and it's sad that I think this way, but I think the game has conditioned me to think this way, of like, how long is he going to truly last? Like, when is the other foot going to drop? He's really good. I thought the same thing with last year with Felix Bautista with Baltimore. Another guy that I was like, man, it's fun watching you pitch, but god damn it, like, I can't stop but think, like, you're going to hurt yourself, because it's such a labored delivery and it looks so strenuous that I'm like, man, at what, like, in the NFL, I watched it fucking live. I watched him blow his arm out. The minute he threw the pitch, he went down, did the same movement that I was familiar with. I was like, yeah, that shit's done. He blew it out. So, yeah, guys, MLB needs to change. And the other thing is, if you're a young guy listening, or if you got kids listening, man, here's my thing on and it's the same thing. John Smoltz kind of talked about weighted balls. I tried it. I have a buddy on my team, real quick, story time again. I have a guy on my team, right? And this is the last thing I'll talk about. I have a guy on my team, his name's Carlos, that I play with on Sundays. He played ball a long time, and he's a believer in weighted balls, and he will throw weighted balls before every start, because he believes that strengthens his arm. I remember 2 years ago, when I was still at Baseball Express, I wrote an article. You can probably go still find that article on their site somewhere, about the advantage/disadvantage of weighted balls. Now, a lot of these velo places are like, oh, weighted balls are the way to go. Do all these plyos. There's so many memes on Instagram now of guys doing all this, weird shit. They're jumping, throwing balls like this and like this. And there's some weird shit going on with weighted balls. I tried. So I found a program, and I said, you know what? On top of this article, because I did the research, I cited sources, man. I went full fucking thesis on this shit about weighted balls, because I was so intrigued. I was like, because I was playing and I was, hanging out with a lot of pro guys. So I actually learned a lot of stuff and increased my velo. And I was like, well, if I throw weighted balls, maybe I'll make an indie ball run league or something, indie ball league run or something like that. Didn't actually do it, because that's a whole other story for a whole other time. But, I remember I was throwing hardest because I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life. If you know me, I used to be the fat kid. So now I'm like, I'm in really good shape. I run a lot. I work out. I'm in good shape. If I can throw hard, maybe that's good for my body. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. And at the time, we were playing a college summer league. So I was playing some competition. I'm like, I'm gonna really try to do this. So I was like, wrote the article, did the research. There's no proof that weighted balls actually improve your velocity. There's no true correlation between, people want to think there is, but there's not. So I bought a weighted ball set. I bought a band set. And I said, every other day we're going to do this and see how we feel. We're going to throw according to feel. Let's see where we're at. So we got the pocket radar. I got the ball. I started doing the experiment. And within 3 weeks or 4 weeks, on top of my starts during like my midweek starts, like on Wednesday nights, I was throwing like 7 innings. My arm was fucked, dude. I mean, my arm was broken. Like, I remember my bicep felt like, I couldn't lift weights. I couldn't lift weights to my full ability because my bicep felt like it was going to fucking explode. Every time I pitch, I'm lathering atomic bomb on my bicep, because I'm like, this thing's going to fucking explode. Like, I can't feel, like, it hurts so bad to throw that it was like a pain management thing, like for the next week and a half till I pitched again. So I have firsthand that weighted balls either don't, maybe they work for you. For me, I was like, this is doing more damage to my arm than anything. It hurts more when I throw weighted balls and then go pitch than if I just didn't touch them at all. So since then, I haven't touched a weighted ball. My article's out there. I'll see if I can find it. I'll put it on my socials or something so you guys can check it out. But I did the research, and it's it's very gray area, but there's also stuff that points that it's not as important as people think it is. So weighted balls, approach with caution. But yeah, guys, the MLB epidemic's not going to stop until we decide that we want to change the way we view it. Because right now, with the amount of guys that are still coming up throwing really hard, you got Jack Leiter's making his debut. You got Paul Skeens, another guy throws really fucking hard. So there's a lot of guys still coming up that they're still promoting that lifestyle of throwing hard. So it's not going to stop. This is the big. I think that we're in the middle of it. Honestly, I think it's been building up. We're in the middle of it. This is the worst it could possibly be. Maybe in the next couple of years, we'll see the transition out of this area and maybe more towards player safety. But right now, we love the 100-mile-an-hour fastball too much, way too much. And it's not the pitch clock. It's the advanced metrics. It's the wanting to spin it harder. It's the wanting to throw harder. It's the feeling, the need to have to throw hard to make it in this game that I'm hoping and I'm praying doesn't actually start ending more careers than it begins. That's just my way of thinking. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm way off, if you think I'm just stupid, let me know. But that's what I think. I've seen it. I've had my experience with it. I need Tommy John right now. Well, I think I might get probably scarred over by now. I probably don't need it now, but I did at one point. So I know I've been through it. I've seen it. I was at the beginning part of this whole velo train of we got to throw really hard, and I fell victim to it. Just I want to throw really hard, but my body couldn't sustain it. So yeah, guys, let's it's fun watching 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. I'm not gonna lie, but we gotta make a shift. We gotta make a change if we want pitchers to last longer and we want some careers to last longer. So. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like I said, we're going to be making these, I'm hoping every other day, every day. Probably not on weekends because I'm going to take my time off. But during the week, we're going to have episodes rolling out. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Twitter. I got short videos, some short form content on there. Little hot takes here and there that you guys can check out. So yeah, guys, this has been a blast. I can't wait to do more content. We got a lot more topics coming. I got a really big one for tomorrow. Y'all are going to love. So we will go ahead and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening, guys.